Welcome back, everybody, to 3 Point Lines here on the Parlay. I'm your host, Luca Rosano, alongside my co host, Noor Zainab, and we are back with some NBA games. Yes, the NBA second half of the season officially begins tonight as we got 7 games on tap. It's going to be exciting to see how this one plays out with the playoffs upcoming. There are a lot of tight races in both the East and the West. So we are going to dive right into it going into this second half of the season. I stand at 54% with my picks right, as Noor is at 52%. So let's try to get as high as we can with these picks.
Yep, the teams are in win now mode, and so are we, Luca. Let's see how we fare by the end of this year. Let's start off with the Eastern Conference. We've got the Cavaliers taking on the Pistons tonight, where the Cavs are favored by -6. Do you like that?
I'm going to go with Detroit. I think this is going to be a close game. I believe Garland and Levert are both going to be out. I know Garland for a fact, and it was said that Levert's going to join them. So that's a lot of offensive punch that is going to be missing from this game. I know the Pistons have been bad, but they have been overall a sound team against the spread. They're 12-12 against the spread in that spot this season. And that's while they're at home. And then overall, they're 27-31 against the spread. So they are a much better home dog as they are a road dog. So anytime I'm going to take the Pistons ever, it is going to be when they're at home. And I know they're a very poor offensive team. They're ranked 29th in the league. But I think they'll make this one interesting. The Cavaliers, they win these games, but they haven't been as impressive against the spread. It's slipped lately. And that's why the odds makers, I think, for a game like this, it went from like -7.5 to -6. So they realize that this one could be a close one. So I'm going to go with that. I think with those guys being out for Cleveland, that's going to give Detroit a little bit of hope. I still think Cleveland wins, but I think it's going to go down the wire. So give me the Pistons plus the points.
Yeah, I think the Vegas insiders had a look at their last meeting, which was on January 30th, and it saw the Pistons come out with a 10-point victory. And Cavs actually had Darius Garland playing for that one, and him being out tonight already. You mentioned it. It shows that you're going to have a lack of offensive effort for the Cavs and Pistons when they beat the Celtics in their last meeting by 1 point, which caught everybody by surprise. And since they had been on about an 8-game losing streak prior to that. So I think that momentum, coupled with the week off for this young team that's being led by a rookie who obviously on fresh legs is going to be a force to be reckoned with, it should give them somewhat of a fight. And as you mentioned, a team that's missing their PG right now, I can see an upset happening here. I don't think the Cavs lose this, but I think Detroit can cover this as well. So give me the Pistons.
All right, next game here. We got a big number. The Celtics favored by 9 against Brooklyn. Last time these two teams met, the Celtics obliterated them. So do you think something like that's going to happen again tonight?
I don't know. I think the lack of chemistry here could somehow play in factor for Brooklyn some way. Now, hear me out. Celtics have been great. I don't know about this, so I don't really know about how this spread's going to fare out. The Nets have been a big question mark, especially after a bad fourth quarter against the Wizards, the last game they played, but they have enough firepower, I think, to make this a game, especially after the trade with Philly, or at least like not lose this by 10. Like I don't expect them to win this, but I think they can still make this a game. But Patty Mills, Seth Curry, Cam Thomas, Aldridge, they should all be able to contribute offensively, defensively, and you already have Patty Mills and Seth Curry. You can also bring the ball up as well. With Jalen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Marcus Smart being healthy at the same time. This Boston team is not a team that you want to mess with right now. They've been on a really good trajectory, and they realize that this is the time to get their winning in gear and play for these matchups for the playoffs. But I think that with Nets with their new acquisitions, it should at least make things interesting. The lack of chemistry might actually work in their favor just because you have so many guys now who can do so many different things. And they almost kind of have to figure it out on the court at this point, right? So I somehow think Brooklyn can make this a game. I still think Boston again can win this, but you know me, lay the points. I'm going to take Brooklyn here. What about you?
Yeah, I'm totally not copying you or anything, but I'm actually going to change my pick. I originally did like Boston 9, but something's fishy in this game, and it's not going to go well, I don't think, for Boston in terms of covering the numbers. So they were like minus, I want to say like 6.5, and then the line just jumped to -9. And as hearing you talk and just thinking about it more, yeah, I don't think this is going to be a blowout like the last time. I think Brooklyn is going to find a way to keep this one close. They're not going to have their big three but they're going to be excited overall that their big three is coming soon. So Kyrie Irving got the best news for him yesterday when it was announced that the mandates were going to be uplifted. So that means Kyrie is going to be a full-time player. Not to mention, you're going to have KD and Ben Simmons, who should be back within the next week. This is according to Sean Marks of the Nets. The Nets are going to be very fun the second half of the season, and they're feeling good about their chances. So I know tonight they're not going to have their big three, but they're still going to have a team that has guys like Seth Curry, Drummond, guys that really want to show that big three that, hey, when you guys come back, we're going to be ready to go. So I think this is the time where the Nets are going to start to turn it around. I mean, they have to. There's 24 games left. They're in eighth place. They definitely don't want to be on the road anymore, especially with Kyrie able to play in home games soon. So I think they're going to show up here. I think Boston wins. But yeah, seeing that -9 and just putting two and two together of the line just going up like it did, I think that's a little bit of a trap. So I can see Brooklyn keeping this game close with their 3-point power. So yeah, give me the Nets.
I wonder if there was like a player prop out there about Kyrie being able to play full time at some point this season. And I hope someone took it because imagine the winnings at this point. They probably got clowned. And now Kyrie's going to be a full time NBA player again. Let's stick to the Eastern Conference. We have the Atlanta Hawks taking on the Chicago Bulls tonight, where the Bulls are favored by -3. Who do you like here, Luca?
Yeah, I love the Bulls tonight. You look at Atlanta; they've lost three of their last four games on the road. They're 11-17 overall away from the State Farm Arena. The Hawks are 2-6 against the spread in their last eight road games, and the Bulls they're figuring it out without their players all back. They're still dealing with their fair share of injuries, but despite that, led by Debo, who's been putting up MVP numbers. They have won 5 games in a row, and they've been dominant at home with a record of 23-8 this season. Chicago is 5-1 against the spread in their last 6 games, 8-2 against the spread in their last 10 games. And the Hawks are not going to have John Collins. So I'm actually surprised that the spread is as low as it is, considering the circumstances and the fact that the Bulls are coming into this one hot. So I like the Bulls here. -3, I'm laying it.
I agree. I was very surprised. It caught me off guard. I literally had to go take a DB line to Google and check to see the injury report for Bulls to be like, what's happening? Is DeRozan not playing? Because DeRozan enough should give you that kind of spread, right? But yeah, you mentioned it. John Collins will not be there for the Hawks, and Lonzo Ball still remains out for the Bulls. But Levine is back, and Levine being back is massive. Levine already also had a week off, so this week off really helps out guys who are coming back from injury and who still need to get their reps back into the lineup. So I think him having that week off to really work on his body would be massive for him. As much as I love what Trae Young and the Hawks have been doing lately, the only problem I find with them is that the consistency is still not there for me. They go on winning benders and then they come back and they lose to bottom tier teams 3 or 4 times in a row. Whereas the Bulls, as long as they've had DeRozan, Levine, one of Levine or Vooch in the lineup, they've still been killing teams. And DeRozan has been, as you mentioned it, in his MJ bag this entire season. And with Vooch dominating the boards, Levine just gets to do whatever he wants offensively. And weeks off, as I mentioned already, should really help Levine here in this spot who's been dealing with injuries to just come back, feel good, feel healthy, feel rejuvenated. So yeah, I really like the Bulls here. I think this should be a pretty clean victory for them. Give me Chicago.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, next game we got Memphis, another low spread, -1.5, taking on the T Wolves.
Yeah, this close spread is kind of crazy. But it makes a lot of sense since the Grizzlies, when they were last in Minnesota, they were blown out. And Dylan Brooks still remains out for the Grizzlies. But outside of that, the most other starters for both Minnesota and for Memphis should be suiting up for this one. My concern only here is even though Anthony Edwards is going to be playing tonight. His last game before All Star, when he played the Raptors, he was injured. He wasn't playing that great. He was pretty much in pain the entire time. So it's just a matter of what version you're going to get of him and if he's going to be 100% healthy. Because if he's not healthy and if D'Angelo Russell can't be as consistent as they need him to be, as they want him to be, I think this should be a Grizzlies win. This is still a Ja Morant's team. This is still Desmond Bane's team. This is still a close enough spread and super comfortable here that I think that they can easily beat this team by 2 points if they really want to come down and play the Grizzlies way. So I'm gonna take the Grizzlies here. How about you?
Yeah, this spread should say a lot about how much the odds makers are valuing the T Wolves right now. I mean, this is a team that headed into the All Star break 7-3 in their last 10, and they definitely have the upper hand, I think. in terms of finishing in the Western Conference play-in and being one of those teams that could very well get out of that play-in and make the playoffs. But you look at the Memphis Grizzlies, they are in striking distance of that top 2 seed. And they're not that far off. They're going to be taking these games seriously. They're going to want to finish out the second half of the season strong to prove that they are no fluke. They're going to be a team that you have to reckon with in the playoffs. And they're an NBA best against the spread this season at 40-20. This is a Grizzlies team. Their top 10 rating on both sides of the ball means that they can beat you in any single way. So anytime you could get the Grizzlies at a price like this, I feel like you have to take it and be proven wrong. Otherwise, it's a bet that you just have to go with. I mean, this is a team that continues to get it done. And for those people saying that they're a much better home team, well, even on the road, they've been getting it done. And especially against the spread, 22-8 against the spread this season. So there's so many stats you can dig up about the Grizzlies' success, not only winning games, but covering the number. I like them here. I think they get it done, but this will be a hard fought win.
Yeah, and you mentioned that this is a time to move up the ladder, and with the Suns having Chris Paul go down for 6 to 8 weeks, I think this is the time for Grizzlies to really move up that standing. And speaking of the Suns and Chris Paul, we've got the other game of the night in the Western Conference, where it's going to be the Phoenix Suns taking on the OKC, where they're favored by -10. Any thoughts here, Luca?
That's going to be big for the Suns and very unfortunate about the news of Chris Paul. I think they still will be okay. They're not going to fall off drastically, but they really got to hope Chris Paul is ready to go for that playoffs, because if he's not 100%, the Suns are not making it out of the West. And it sucks to see that happen. I mean, they were clicking, everything was going their way, and it was unexpected news, especially since he was able to play in like, what, 2-3 minutes in the actual All-Star game. But as far as tonight goes, I'm going with the home underdog. I'm taking the points. OKC, Shea Gilgis Alexander, the team's best player, will be back. And we've seen already how good Giddy has been on his own. So now you're going to have a backcourt that's going to be tougher, meaner, more explosive than ever before. They're going to be at home. And the Thunder, they've been a pretty safe bet against the spread. I think they're second in the NBA behind the Grizzlies that we just talked about for having the best against the spread record. It's crazy because their record does not indicate that at all, but they are 9-3-1 against the spread in their last 13 games. So this is a team that has proven all season long that they can keep games close. They can make things interesting, especially against the upper echelon of talent in the NBA. So give me OKC or +10.
We're about to go 505, Luca. This is what the NBA does to us. Yeah, tonight's going to be the best team in the league versus that won't stop winning versus the team that just won't give up until the very end. I feel like every time we talk about the OKC team here, we always mention how they just don't give up. Every single second, every single game, no matter who it is, they always play to their opponent's level, no matter how great they are or how crappy they are, and they make it a game until the very, very end. Cameron Payne and Chris Paul not available for this one should be a pretty major hit, I think, for them. Chris Paul is their engine, he's their leader, he's a facilitator, and I can't not see them not take a hit with him not being able to play, especially initially, especially like
Yeah.
maybe the first couple of weeks. And OKC is a team, like I said, we talk about it numerous times. They just don't stop. They're notorious for not winning, but keeping the margin very, very close until the very, very end. So I think this a banged up Suns team and having Shea back in the lineup should help them maintain that reputation even more. I don't see them winning this, but I see them covering. And I think that's the motto of my every single episode. So give me OKC here. What about you?
Yeah, the
Oh,
team.
sorry. Yeah. You already
Yeah,
covered.
yeah, yeah. I already made my pick. But hey, I'll take OK. I'll tell you OKC again. But you said something funny there. It really is the team that can't stop winning taking on the team that can't stop covering the spread. So this is gonna be a good matchup. I think it's gonna be fun. But let's move on to the next game here. We got Denver taking on Sacramento, and we got the Nuggets favored by 4.5 here. So they were pretty hot going into the All-Star break. Will they keep it going here with their MVP candidate Jokic?
Yeah, Denver and Jokic, I think, deserve an award, not only for being able to stay afloat, but for beating expectations and losing men to injuries, but still remaining top six in the West. And that's hard to do in that Western Conference. And the Kings have looked out of sync all season. After a little pick me up around the trade deadline, they're kind of back at their ways. There's no one on the roster I feel comfortable with who I think was going to be able to cover Jokic, defend Jokic. And I think that this is a close enough margin here where Denver should take this pretty comfortably. They've beaten the likes of the Nets, the Warriors, the Raptors, even. And Jokic is just a force to be reckoned with. I think this is where he shines. He's going to be the best player on the court, and he will will his team to a victory. How about you?
Yeah, I agree. I think Denver will win here and cover the number. And you mentioned it. I mean, Jokic has been phenomenal with what he has done on this team without Porter, without Murray, so many injuries, different guys in and out of the lineup. He's been that one constant that's put the team on his back through it all. And this is going to be a tougher test than what they expected because Sacramento has improved drastically with the addition of Sabonis. But this is a game that I think the Nuggets will take advantage of. And Mike Malone, he knows this team. They got to avoid that plan. They got to stay within the top six. So now's not the time where you want to slump and lose games against teams that you should beat. So expect this Nuggets team to be a motivated squad for the second half. Like I mentioned, they were playing some of their best basketball going into the break, and that included a very big time win against the Golden State Warriors. So yeah, I like MVP candidate Jokic here and the Nuggets to cover the number.
All right, let's stick to the Western Conference. We have the last game of the night with a big spread once again. The Warriors take on the Blazers, where the Warriors are favored by -10. Are you going to lay the points?
I am. I'm going to take them. I really like these home dogs tonight. I think there's a lot of value here. We just talked about OKC. I think this is going to be another great value pick with the Blazers. I like them +10. And you look at the Warriors, they're still missing Draymond Green. I think he does so many good things for that team, as we talked about so often on the show. And the Blazers are actually a better home team than when they're on the road. They're 16 and 16 at home as opposed to the just 9 and 18 away. As the Warriors are a worse road team than they are a home team. I mean, their road record is still impressive at 16 and 11, but that's compared to the 26 and 6 home record. So that's a vast difference there. But I just think this is going to be a game where the Blazers once again find a way to keep it close. I mean, you look at Simons, he looks like the next big stud for the Blazers. He resembles Damian Lillard on a lot of the shots that he's been taking. And this is a Blazers team. I know that another big blow with the news of Nurkic being out, but it's been the next man up mentality for this team since the beginning of 2022. So the Warriors, we have seen it. They win games, but they haven't blown out teams in their typical Warriors fashion like they did at the start of the season. They've been playing a lot more tightly contested games. If this was in Golden State, I probably would have laid the points. But just because they're going to be on the road going into Portland, I think this is going to be an exciting game. Give me the Blazers +10.
I agree with you. We're going what 7 of 7 tonight.
7 of
When
7,
you look
yeah.
at the scoreboard, let me know too. Might as well, because I'm just gonna know it if I won or not. But yeah, you mentioned it. There's no Nurkic tonight, and the Splash Brothers are playing, so I guess the big spread makes somewhat of sense to me. But that's still doubting a Blazers team that was on fire prior to All Star Weekend. They beat the likes of Bucks, Grizzlies, Lakers, Knicks, and they had Anthony Simons and Josh Hart contribute big time offensively. I think Josh Hart has brought them something even more that that they probably had not even thought they were looking for, and him being able to help Simon's that way, Nurkic that way offensively is just a huge load off everyone's shoulders. And on the other side, this is the Warriors team that's been kind of shaky and sketchy. You kind of mentioned it. They haven't been beating teams the way that they used to in the beginning of the year. They lost 4 of their 5 before All Star weekend. And I feel like it's a big part of that is because Clay has just not been able to be back to Clay form. And that's not anything to do, with him or anything like that. It makes complete sense after coming back through from a 2-year injury, but he's just obviously hasn't been back to his Clay form yet. And that obviously impacts the Warriors and their style of play, as I'm sure that slows their pace down, their offense down, and it takes away minutes from other guys too. And I think Simons, Hart, and even Winslow should make this a pretty close game. Counting Simons out for this game is just insane to me. I think the way that he's been playing recently, dropping 25 plus any game that he can find, going up to 30, and having to do this on a team that is on our eyes was looking like they were tanking pretty much, but he's almost willing them to win and show them what winning looks like. So I think that with that kind of momentum, with those kind of guys on the roster, with that kind of will to win, Portland should at least not lose by 11 tonight.
Yeah, we agree with all 7 picks. I think that's the first time ever on the show that we're literally going 7 for 7 with our picks in terms of agreeing on them. But in all fairness, I might have copied your Nets pick. I mean, I was going with the Celtics initially, but that spread was too high. And you know what? You're making some solid points. I'm like, it's never too late to change picks on the show, but we'll see what happens here on 3 point lines on the parlay. Let us know if you agree with these picks. Let us know who you like tonight and some of your other best bets, as Noor and I will be looking at that scoreboard, looking to see if we do go a perfect 7-0, or we could even go 0-7 for all we know. It's been that type of NBA season thus far. And I'm super excited to see how it's going to end with these games all the way down to the end with the playoffs on the horizon. But this is 3 point lines here on the parlay. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you all again tomorrow.